Hey, what's up, guys? Tougie here, back again. Today, we're talking about a little bit of wrestling, more specifically AEW's Double or Nothing. Now, originally, I was going to record this on Sunday, the day after, of course, with this being a Saturday event, at least in the States. If you're in Europe, and God bless you for having to stay up for these events. But I was originally going to record this on Sunday, decided to rewatch the event on Sunday to see if my opinions changed on anything. As a result, happy Memorial Day to you. This is going up on Monday. We do have a lot to get to, though, with this event. And before we get into the matches, I actually want to, save those for last. I want to talk about everything else surrounding this event. Now, I'm not talking about, like, oh my God, it's the first pay-per-view. You know that. Oh my God, they're on TNT. You know that show's coming if you're watching this review. But in terms of everything surrounding this event, say the stage, which I thought was great. A lot of people were calling it TNA Light because, of course, the dual entryways. I think it's great. New Japan used to do something very similar, very reminiscent of the WWF Invasion pay-per-view. Obviously, TNA was the main comparison, but I gotta be honest, as someone who was a fan of TNA from 2003 until Hogan and Bischoff showed up, I think that's one of the best things that they had going for them, were the dual entryways. So I was more than happy to see that back. But the stage looked great, especially nowadays where we lack, custom sets for the majority of WWE pay-per-views. It was very nice, of course, to see that, a little bit of a specialty set. I'm intrigued to see if once they go on to TNT, they have that similar setup. I think it'd be pretty cool for that to kind of be their base stage. In terms of production, number one, the ring looked great. A lot of people were making, WCW comparisons, probably just because the shade of the mat was different, the logo in the middle of the mat, the black ring ropes. Say WCW comparisons if you want. In that regard, I think it looked pretty good. I have no complaints about that whatsoever. Some people are complaining that they had the WWE style lighting on the crowd. Give or take as far as that is concerned. When it comes to, audio, it was fine for the most part. Some people mentioning that it would be nice, for entry themes to be kind of done the way WWE has it done, so that they're a little bit more, a little bit more noticeable. And especially in terms of, just entry themes in general, a lot of kind of generic WCW sounding stuff, but I imagine that will get better with time. The camera work, because that was a big thing. Although actually, before I even mention that, in terms of, we'll say, presentation when it comes to nameplates or transitions or the instant replay thing, all of that was up to par. That looked good. In terms of the camera work early on, it was a little bit rough, but I think they really got it together by the end of the show, especially when you compare it to, some of the things. It still felt big time. Like, they missed some stuff for sure. As far as like camera cuts to the crowd during the matches, yeah, I could go without that. But as far as that being up to par, I give them credit. That was up to par as well. But yeah, the amount of crowd shots, let's tune that down. It's obvious that you have some influences, and the WWE model, give or take, is still the standard. You lived up to it, but let's not go too far in that direction, please. But for the most part, I think they did very well in that regard. And I think the only other thing really to mention would be the commentary, which I'd rather get out of the way right now. Excalibur, Jim Ross, and Alex Marvez. I will say this about Alex Marvez first and foremost, because he was, I wouldn't say the most polarizing, that was probably Jim Ross, but a lot of people hating on Alex Marvez, and I get it. He is an NFL guy transitioning to this, but I was listening to Post Wrestling with John and Way, their review of the show. And I gotta be honest, I really like the point that they made that somebody has to be, we'll say, the barker for, hey, follow us on this, or here, this event's coming up and stuff like that. I'd rather have it be someone like Alex Marvez doing that than Excalibur or Jim Ross. Now, you could argue whether or not that's needed on commentary. You could do, the breaks and matches to do that. And Marvez is someone who would probably be better suited, in that role, in between, like, oh, hey, in between matches, or once you come back from commercial on TNT, you cut to Alex Marvez, and it's, hey, this event coming up on June 25th. Although I think the next event's on June 29th, but you get the point. He'll get better, I'm sure, but obviously there wasn't a whole hell of a lot there. He's kind of someone that you don't want to throw into a commentary role immediately, but like I said, if you need someone or want someone to be able to mention this stuff during commentary. He was inoffensive at the very least. JR was the polarizing one out of the three, and I think it's because at this point it's either you're over Jim Ross or you still enjoy him. Admittedly, I haven't heard too much of JR because anything he's done for New Japan I haven't watched. I'm a snob when it comes to New Japan. I don't like watching with English commentary, even though I don't understand a word of Japanese. But the reason that is because of the passion, the energy, and the excitement that you get from New Japan's commentators in particular, especially when you compare it to, and I hate to do this, but Impact. I can't stand Josh Matthews and the Michael Cole, oh my, style of expression. It just, I can't do it. I would rather listen to a language I don't understand that better conveys excitement than that. And again, with JR, I thought he did fine. Was he great? No. Was he offensive? No. But, at this point, he's 67 years old. I think he did pretty well, but I understand if a lot of people are kind of over him or don't want him in that role, especially when you compare him to Excalibur, who is one of the best commentators in the world. I haven't been able to follow along with PWG because I don't torrent their shows. I don't torrent anybody's shows for numerous reasons. But Excalibur has been great for a long time, and he cemented himself as one of the best commentators in the world after Double or Nothing. And he certainly has to be the guy for them. Like I said, if you have an idea of who could replace Jim Ross, who's to say? I mean, at the very least, it makes sense to have JR there as a familiar face to help draw people in. But obviously, the natural progression is, okay, Excalibur is the voice of this, but JR is here. I don't know who else you'd really want to bring in. Post Wrestling also mentioned, hey, Jim Cornette would be amazing, but I doubt that would happen. Excalibur and Jim Cornette would be one hell of a commentary duo. But yeah, Excalibur is outrageously good. Outrageously good. And to see him go from, only exclusively calling PWG to, of course, being involved at All In, and now this, he's amazing. And for someone who is a commentary snob, because it does add so much to it, I mean, they couldn't have found anybody better at this point. So, and you know what, too? Special shout out. Justin Roberts, as the ring announcer, is still probably my favorite right now. And the ref crew as well. Aubrey Edwards, Bryce Remsburg, Earl Hebner was fine. Paul Turner and Rick Knox, who of course is amazing. Everything around it, everything around the event, outside of the actual in-ring work, was good to great for me. Again, whether it be from the referees, from the production standpoint, which again, if you have the staging, the ring setup, all of this, and maybe it is dragged down a little bit by the camera work and some of the other little minor issues, it all still leveled out. It was great in that regard. And I guarantee there's something that I would have forgotten to mention, but you know what? That's fine, because we're going to get to the matches. I am going to talk about the pre-show really quickly, which, the Casino Battle Royale, they tried. They tried something new, and I give them that. Didn't work. And fair play to the WWE, because when it comes to Battle Royales or Royal Rumbles, they got it right. The Casino Battle Royale, for anybody who, of course, didn't know, is, okay, well, there's four type of cards in a deck. You have the clubs, diamonds, hearts, and spades, suits, they call them. Well, we're going to have, if the clubs are drawn, 5 people come out, and then another 5, 20, and then we have the Joker. It could have worked, but the big part of a Battle Royal, I mean, if you have everybody in the ring, it's fine. But in terms of entrances like that, you want the big time pop, and that wasn't there. The camera work is a little bit for the majority of this match. They missed quite a few spots. I'm not going to break down the entire match. Overall, I mean, it was still, I would say, inoffensive. It wasn't great. I mean, MJF came off looking amazing from this. Other standouts, I mean, just mainly in terms of, people that you notice, but Jimmy Havoc, Joey Janela gets a cigarette put on his head and then dumped on his head. It was ridiculous. I wish Brian Pillman Jr. got to do a little bit more. Sean Spears, the former Ty Dillinger, was in this match, and he was one who really suffered from not having that individual entrance. Glacier was in this. Jungle Boy was in this. Luchasaurus was in this, who came off looking like an absolute star from this Battle Royale. So intrigued to see what he does moving forward. Marco Stunt, another notable name, Sonny Kiss and Tommy Dreamer had a moment. Orange Cassidy didn't get to do that much. And then the Joker, an eventual winner, Adam Page, which isn't all that surprising, unfortunately. I mean, damned if you do, damned if you don't. It was shocking to me, and maybe that's just how... What's the right word here? Maybe that's just how much I'm like, I don't want to be fooled by you, but I can't believe the Adam Page and Pac match actually fell apart. Maybe because I was looking forward to it that much and I really wanted to see it happen. But considering they had to put Adam Page somewhere on this card, and of course he was going to beat Pac anyway and get towards that title match, this was the way to do it. So it didn't, I mean, it went over well, and it was expected, and that's it, really. As far as the Battle Royale is concerned, just it was okay at best. You get Adam Page the win, you get him to where you want to be, and that's fine. Kip Sabian and Sammy Guevara was also on the pre-show. It was fine. I mean, the one issue is that there's only one spot that really stands out to me, and that's Sammy Guevara shooting star pressing off of the apron and onto Kip Sabian, who was draped over the barricade, which was outrageous. But that's really the only thing that stands out. I hate to say it. It was fine, but that's, that was it. Which, again, didn't need to be anything more. Probably not. Opening match, SoCal Uncensored, Daniels, Kazarian, and Scorpio Sky against Strong Hearts, Chima, T-Hawk, and El Lindaman. The best name in wrestling to this day. Great opener. And again, I'm not going to go into details like, Scorpio Sky hit a drop kick here, and other people do that better. But you know what this is at this point. It's ranting and rambling about a wrestling show. But it was a great opener. Everybody looked great, especially, too, and this has been pointed out by others, Daniels, Kazarian, and Chima all being in their 40s. They all looked great. I love me some T-Hawk. El Lindaman looked phenomenal. Scorpio Sky, it did its job. I mean, I'm a little bit surprised that SoCal went over, SCU, as they are also known. Insert chant here. But mainly because it's like, okay, you have the OWE contingent, and, maybe you want to get them a win, but in a way it makes sense. They look really good in defeat. Everybody looked good in general, and, familiar names for AEW end up getting the win with SoCal Uncensored. It was just a really good opener. There's not too much else to say about that. It was a really good match, a really good opener. Everyone looks like a winner. We go to the second match of the night. Britt Baker, Nyla Rose, and Kylie Rae. And, of course, the surprise fourth entrant, not Brandy Rhodes. But, of course, we had to tease that. One of the many times they took a shot at WWE tonight. And I was going to wait until we got to Cody's entrance before talking about this. But I'm on the side of there was just too many shots at WWE. The expression punching up is certainly applicable. Cody's entrance in particular. And I get that it's been a little bit of a back and forth. But between Cody's entrance, Brandy doing the, I'm going to Stephanie McMahon this kind of deal. Of course, mentioning, why can't tag team wrestling be great? Mentioning, we're allowed to name, we're allowed to say what the referees' names are. Stuff like that. There was a lot. I get it. And obviously a large part of the audience is very, fuck you, WWE. I'm just indifferent towards the WWE product right now, which I've talked about on Twitch a lot. But I'm not going to be like, fuck that company. It is what it is. I want that company to be better. For AEW, just let it go. It didn't work out for Eric Bischoff to sit there and shit on that company every chance he could. It worked out for a bit, and then it didn't. Just focus on you and save some of that. If you want to still do some of that stuff of being the elite is continuing beyond when the TV show debuts, do it there. Just no. But anyway, Awesome Kong. Amazing surprise. Love me some Awesome Kong. She is, in fairness, it wasn't the best display here, but God, she is one of my favorites. And of course, whenever you mention her, I think it automatically goes to either the Karma run, but more likely Gail Kim and what they did in TNA back in the day. And that has, she forever won me over as a fan. And again, unfortunately, she didn't get to do as much in this match. Nyla Rose, unfortunately, I do kind of agree with the sentiment that she didn't look like as much of a monster as she needed to, even though they teased that match. I think it would be worth teasing it for a lot longer. I do wonder if they could pull off the monster versus monster match, which is often not great, but it was okay. Britt Baker gets the win over... It's unfair to her, but God, I saw the term Make-A-Wish Bayley, applied to Kylie Ray, which I think is unfair. But this was a solid match. I wouldn't put it into the good category, but it was solid. Introduces, out of the three, if you're a wrestling fan, even if it's somewhat casual, you might know who Awesome Kong is. If you're, a Squared Circle member on Reddit, you're going to know who Britt Baker is and who she's dating. Nyla Rose and Kylie Ray, a little bit more unknown. It was fine. And I think it did its job. Best friends, Chuck and Trent against Angelico and Jack Evans. Another really good match. Further emphasizing just how good this tag division is going to be. Very excited about that. Love me some Chuck Taylor. As an old school Chikara fan, love me some Chuck Taylor. And again, just really good. I can sit here and break down the moves of the matches. No, I'm just going to tell you it was really good, and it's worth your time to watch, at the very least. And I will mention, though, Angelico, the gear, phenomenal. Not too many people get a take the top off chant. He did. Go watch the match. You'll know why. And for Jack Evans, I cannot believe he can still move like he can. Because I remember watching, him in Ring of Honor back in the day as a part of Gen Next, and some of the shit he was doing, especially when he first got there with like Teddy and the whole infamous cage incident. I can't believe this guy can still move as well as he can. Jack Evans is still the goddamn man, and I am so excited to hopefully see both of these teams. Obviously best friends, but Angelico and Jack, I hope they're fixtures of the tag division. However, I haven't been too negative towards the show yet. Commentary, like I said, meh. I enjoyed JR. I gotta be honest. Marvin was, didn't have a whole hell of a lot to do. The camera work, meh. Some of the good things about the production and presentation, some of the bad things. I haven't been overly negative yet. Even with the Battle Royal, I haven't been overly negative yet because, it's a Battle Royal. They tried something new. It failed. Whatever. Super Smash Bros. Debut. Now, SSB are a great tag team. A great tag team. If you followed PWG, especially towards the beginning of this decade, you will know how good they are. However, they haven't been permitted to work in the United States for like 4 years, maybe 5 at this point. It might have been 5. It typically is 5, I think, when Canadians get caught coming over the border, technically working in wrestling shows illegally and getting bopped. It's happened before for talents at PWG, Ring of Honor. God, what is his name? He's escaping me. Karate gimmick, though. Wrestles barefoot, was in PWG, went over to Progress. You guys know who I'm talking about if you're watching this review. I can't believe his name is escaping me, but he just got banned within the past 2 years, so it happens. But SSB, great tag team, but there was so little build-up to them being a part of this roster that, you get the lights out, lights on, and it's SSB in the ring, and people just go silent. Lights go out again, come back on, and I believe they said that was the Heartless, which is a play on of Kingdom Hearts. Basically, they just laid out everybody in the ring. It really sucks to see a good tag team like that just kind of get thrown to the wolves. And whether or not it was the powers that be thinking that they were going to have a little bit more hype around them than they actually did, I don't know. But they got put in a brutal, brutal spot. That is the type of spot where those lights come up, it better be the Revival somehow. Like, that's the type of talent that lights out, lights on has to show up. I feel so sorry for SSB, but hopefully they can rebound. Very interesting with them being heels as well. Evil Uno is amazing. But yeah, that was the first moment of the night where I'm just like, oh, there it is. There's that first big fuck up. But overall, again, still a great match, and hopefully SSB can rebound. And again, the tag division for AEW was already looking so stacked. We move on to 6-woman Joshi tag action, which again, Hikaru Shida, Riho, and Ryo Mizunami against Aja Kong, Yuka Sakazaki, and Emi Sakura. I mean, I kind of agree. This was the match of the night up to this point. That's been the popular opinion, and I have to agree. It was great. Now, the biggest negative for the match is more than likely Aja Kong's involvement, because, here, you know what? Let me check. How old is Aja Kong? She is 48 years old. But god damn it, she's a legend, and you can't judge her off of the fact that she's in the ring with people that are less than half her age, as insane as that is. I still enjoyed this match, though. It was, again, tremendous. The match of the night. Up to this point, it would be topped. But definitely the match of the night up to this point. One unfortunate moment where the timekeeper fucks up. I don't understand how this is happening in wrestling still. Like, I don't get it in terms of refs fucking up counts, ring bells. Like, what is going on in wrestling lately? It's like you have NHL officials transferring over to wrestling. I don't understand it as far as, counts and shoulders out and all this shit. Just makes it look bad. The good thing is the match recovered, and it was solid. I mean, you have, perhaps the best moment of them all, but, Emi Sakurai dressed like Freddie Mercury is just... And then there was a "We Will Rock You" chant. So much goodness about this match. It should be watched. And for 6 completely different talents to gel, as well as they did, that they're going to be relatively unknown. Admittedly, this is my first time seeing at least half of them. I'm aware of who Emi Sakurai is. I'm aware of who Hikaru Shida is. But that's just kind of it, right? So for them to do as well as they did, and I'm a diehard wrestling fan. I follow as much as I can. I begrudgingly, I'm on Reddit and stuff like that. But even for me to kind of be like, let's see what this is going to be. Crazy good. And certainly did their job of getting everybody over. And I'm intrigued to see more. And again, hopefully they do become full-time members of the roster moving forward. From here, technically we do not have the title introduction. We have Cody Rhodes and Dustin Rhodes. And again, I mentioned Cody's entrance earlier. The hammer on the throne. The crowd popped for it, but just no. Please don't. This match, though. Now, people kind of mentioned, it was like a mix of New Japan, kind of US Indie, like ROH, PWG-ish style, and the WCW influence. And this was definitely the old school influence. Say what you want. I love a Will Ospreay, El Phantasmo match as much as the next guy, but, this match was phenomenal. Just in terms, and this is the second time now, even at All In, say what you want about Nick Aldis, but that was a really good, old-school, story-based match. And I can appreciate that. If anything, I prefer that more. Here, this is just, it's a great match. It really, really is. Dustin bled fucking buckets. Like one of the most gruesome Crimson Masks since Austin in 97. Insane. And overall, again, for Dustin Rhodes, 50 years old, you still belong. I hate that you still got a chance more than anything else in wrestling. I really do. Even more than Superstar Billy Graham, that curmudgeon. But my God, if someone deserved it, I think he did. It's just a great match. You need to watch it. And the ending promo, tremendous. Everything about this was great. It really was. Like I said, I mean, for me, match of the night. And was it the best in terms of in-ring work or whatever? No. But I can treat matches for what they are. And I don't view every match kind of on the same rating scale. Like, you look at WrestleMania 18, which, in fairness, WrestleMania 18 might not be the best example. But you look at WrestleMania 18, right? Obviously, the match that comes to mind is Rock Hogan. Probably not the best match from an in-ring perspective, but you know what? Then again, maybe it was. I mean, you know, when your biggest competition on that night's probably Taker and Flair, case in point. But, you know, you look at like a Rock and Hogan. Not the best match in terms of in-ring work. Say you had Benoit and Angle from 17 on that card, that one certainly would have had a lot better in-ring work. But you got to treat the match for what it is. Same thing for me, which is why I didn't totally hate Sting Triple H. I hated everything about the booking of it, but, you know, it's like, oh, okay, Sting is what he is at this point. I'm cool with that. Same thing with Aja Kong. She is what she is at this point. I can respect that. You know, similar thing here. It's not gonna be Okada Omega at the Dome, but it didn't have to be. It did its job, and again was my match of the night for that reason. And the fact that we will be getting the Rhodes against the Young Bucks, I believe, at Fyter Fest in the end of June. Very excited for that match. We then get the championship introduction, which the title looks great. I mean, I know there's a couple, probably too many AEW logos on it, but the title looks great. Bret Hart showing up, which, again, for someone who never showed up, I mean, obviously went to WCW, but like, he never showed up in TNA. He pretty much, you know, stayed away. Of course, obviously in 2002, the stroke and stuff like that would have affected him making appearances. But ever since he came back to WWE in 2010, he hasn't really made appearances for outside promotions. And here he is, AEW, which is crazy. And again, hopefully he's okay. I haven't heard an update about the fall, but my God. But this was great. Brings out Hangman. Interrupted by MJF. MJF is, of course, phenomenal. Fun fact, there's a somewhat local wrestling promotion here called LW Maine, Limitless Wrestling, which typically holds shows about 2 hours from where I live. So that kind of sucks. But I was talking to a friend of mine who is involved with AEW in Chicago, actually. And he's like, oh, man, have you heard of this promotion? I'm like, yeah, I have, but it's kind of far away. He's like, oh, you should go. And I'm like, yeah, you know, the card isn't that great to me, the next one. MJF was on the card, so he got MJF to cut a promo on me, and according to MJF, I should have been aborted. So, MJF, my favorite wrestler. But, I mean, he's fucking phenomenal on the mic. He really is. Segment ends with Jungle Boy getting involved, Jimmy Havoc. So, setting up some stuff, and that was one of the things about this show that was just tremendous. You set up Adam Page and MJF moving forward. You set up, of course, SSB being involved, Awesome Kong and Nyla Rose down the road. You set up the Rhodes reuniting as a tag team. They set up a lot moving forward, and I give them credit for that, for sure, especially while you're having to rely on, you know, one-off events leading up until the television show launches on TNT later this year. But yeah, really good stuff overall. And again, love the look of the title belt. We then move on. Young Bucks, Lucha Bros. It's a really good match. Shockingly, the Young Bucks retain, which to me wasn't predictable at all. I thought for sure they were going to lose and obviously have the regular AAA talents win the belts back. Maybe they'll do another match in Mexico. That would make sense. You have two of the best high flyers in the world with Nick Jackson and Phoenix. Obviously, that's a long list. There are some amazing people. You could even say Jack Edwards. Jack Edwards? You could even say Jack Evans is still on that list. And obviously, we live in a world with frickin' Ricochet and Will Ospreay and Bandito, who is probably my personal favorite of the bunch. But, you know, those two are amazing. The story of the match in terms of the Young Bucks trying to get back into their groove, breaking out moves from old rivalries, the Motor City Machine Guns, Steen Erico, I love that. But eventually, it got to the point where there were too many false finishes. And by the end of the match, it definitely took away from it. I thought the finish to the match was great. Matt Jackson having the arm worked, but fights through it. The one-arm tombstone into the Meltzer driver, that was perfect. But there were too many false finishes. It was too much. Like, you have your Young Bucks match, and I like those for what they are. This was turned up to 12. It needed to be tuned down a little bit. The crowd started to get at, like, they were into it. But by, like, the 5th false finish, you could see people just being like, So, that's my one down note for this. I mean, it was a great match, though. I love all 4 involved. Pentagon's the fucking man. But, yeah, it got a little bit overboard with the false finishes, unfortunately. But, overall, still a really good match. And then we move to the main event, Jericho and Kenny Omega. I will say, Jericho's entrance, as far as, referencing him in his past, that's fine. It was okay. It was out of order, technically, but who cares? Me, clearly, because I'm bringing it up. Kenny, not quite the same impact for the entrance music. Damn shame. But nothing was going to top what he had in New Japan, I suppose. Overall, good match. Wouldn't put it towards great. There were some unfortunate moments, a certain DDT spot that was repeated, but it was really damn good. And again, Jericho's, 48 years old? I can certainly respect the effort that he put through, especially, too, with this not being no DQ match like the original match at Wrestle Kingdom was. There weren't as many shortcuts that they could take. It was pretty damn good. Now, the table still got involved, stuff like that, but it was a pretty damn good match. Again, good. I don't know if I put it into great, but for what it was, good. Especially considering, again, Kenny Omega, one of the best in the world, and a 48-year-old Chris Jericho, who by no means is, it's not like you're throwing Greg the Hammer Valentine out there. No disrespect to the Hammer, but you get the point. I think the biggest issue that a lot of people have with this match is the Judas Effect elbow, the, spinning back elbow being the finish. Yeah, it's a little bit weak, especially when you have someone like Andrade who busts out a much better version more consistently. But I give them credit to the point where throughout the build-up, it's Jericho saying, if I hit this, he's done. And you kind of be like, it's a fucking spinning back elbow from Jericho. He wins with it, though. So if you look at it, with the smart fan glasses off, it's, Jericho's saying he's going to win with a fucking back elbow. This is Kenny Omega. And then he hits it once and actually beats Omega with it. It's good storytelling, at least. You can say what you want about the move. Jericho will face Adam Page. They haven't announced when. Won't be at Fyter Fest. I'm guessing it'll be at All Out, which is in August, if I'm not mistaken, in Chicago, which will certainly get some rumors going, especially after what happened after the match. But I do want to mention, as far as Jericho and Page, smart move. Smart move. Say what you want about JR on commentary, but having him as a familiar face is a great idea going on to TNT. And having Chris Jericho as your world champion, which I think will happen, as a lot of people do, but having Jericho as your world champion heading into the TNT era, it's perfect. It's a familiar face that can grab attention. He is still a great heel with what he can do on the mic, and he can carry that belt for a bit until you build up, more than likely, Kenny to take that belt away, and then from there you're off. By that point, who knows who's in the company? I mean, as far as what direction you go with who feuds with Kenny, a lot of different options, including the man who he will probably have a match with at All Out in August. Jon Moxley debuts, as a lot of people were hoping for, as he just ends up destroying everybody. And it was absolutely beautiful. The crowd pop was amazing. I mean, if you want to have Scott Hall and 96 vibes, pretty damn close. If not better, let's be honest. Whether or not it leads to as big of things, time will tell. But again, Jericho probably ending up as champion, I'm cool with. Omega and Moxley moving forward. And just what this means for AEW to get him involved. You think about this. Dean Ambrose came back to the main roster, WWE-wise, less than a year ago. That was heading into SummerSlam that he came back. He's in AEW as of May 25th. And just how quickly that situation fell apart, leading to one of the faces of this generation in WWE jumping to AEW. I mean, this is a massive story. A massive story. And the only real comparison you can make is Scott Hall and Kevin Nash levels of jumping to the competition. It's not quite HBK. It's not quite Roman Reigns. But still, for one of the three members of the Shield to leave, former WWE champion to leave and go to the direct competition, or at the very least the alternative, that level of legitimacy is insane. And not to mention, it was announced Sunday night, Moxley has taken other bookings, including he'll be going to New Japan, which makes that AEW New Japan relationship that much more interesting. It can't be overstated what this could potentially mean for anybody in the WWE, tempted to jump, or anybody who's thinking, I have to go to WWE. Maybe you don't. Maybe if Adam Cole's contract was coming up, maybe he thinks, maybe not. If anyone's contract is coming up, not just the Revival in April of next year, as a lot of people are thinking, not just Sasha Banks, someone of this caliber making that jump opens up so many possibilities. And in terms of, gaining that attention for the casual viewer to say, holy shit, this is legit. Like Dean Ambrose, Jon Moxley now, he actually jumped. It's insane. That is exactly what they needed. And God forbid CM Punk show up in Chicago. I don't know if you'd want him to show up in Chicago. It would certainly be the place for the biggest reaction. My fear is, if Punk is actually involved, you'd want him for TV. Maybe even that first night of TV, if it's a live show, which I guess it would be. But my fear is, if Punk isn't involved and you go to Chicago, there's going to be a decent amount of CM Punk chants. I don't think it'll be as ruthless or as relentless as the WWE crowd has been at times. But, the thought of him going there. If you're in Chicago, almost the best thing you could do. Well, then again, it would ruin the rest of the show. I just have a little bit of fear that crowd could, maybe overshadow things by trying to wish that into existence. But has it ever seemed more likely that people are going to get what they want? I mean, for me, I think the coolest thing in the world would be for Punk to go to AEW, but still, I wonder if he was still able to commentate. I think it's, the abbreviation. I think it's CFFC or something like that. If he's still able to do the commentary for that MMA organization, I think he'd be happy. I think there has to be some way to work that out. But, of course, that's just all looking down the road and hoping for the best. The bottom line is, Double or Nothing was a tremendous show. Is it going to go down as the show of the year? Probably not. But in terms of their first official event, they hit a home run with it. They still have time to work out other kinks. They have planted, seeds. They have dropped the breadcrumbs leading into the next few shows. This was exactly the start that they needed. This wasn't a Ring of Honor on iPay-per-view disaster from back in the day. They hit a home run here, and I'm excited, man. How could you not be? I mean, I've had a on-again, off-again relationship with ROH over the years. Again, Impact, the second 2010 hit. But this is the closest we have had to competition. And I haven't, I wasn't the oldest person in the world when WCW and WWF were going head-to-head. that was when I was first starting to grow up. You know, Lord knows I had the Goldberg shirts, but action figures from both sides. You know, I loved it. But I can't say the memories are extremely vivid, aside from the fact that I know I was watching both shows religiously, and WCW by the time 2000 hit, not so much. But for what this could be, how could you not hope, even if you fucking hate even if you're Jim Cornette, I think even Jim Cornette is hoping, and you know, I'm only joking about that, of course. I mean, you know, the whole feud with the Bucks and Omega. Even if you hate the guys, how could you not want this to be a viable alternative, if not direct competition by the end of the road? It only means good things. I mean, maybe not for certain indie promotions, which will have a little bit of trouble having their talent pool rated, but so be it. So be it. I don't know, man. That's all I can say about this show without ranting on and rambling on and on. Tremendous show. If you somehow have listened to this but haven't checked it out, absolutely do so. And as we continue onward, I mean, I plan on watching AEW moving forward. No reason not to. And hopefully this encourages a certain promotion to step the hell up. I mean, really, just please. Not to mention, if you ever book a big match again, don't disappoint me like you did with, say, Styles and Nakamura last year. That was the real turning point for me. So when Styles and Nakamura was just meh at WrestleMania, I'm like, ugh, that was a year ago. It's been over a year of that. Anyway, thank you for watching. Drop a like on the video. I'll see you guys next time. Thank you for letting me be your background noise while you do whatever, and I will see you next time.